So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this Homes Committee to order. Does anybody have a declaration of pecuniary interest? And the number 2A, the first action item, is the budget transfer final setup of a centralized scheduling office division within Health Services. And I'll turn it over to our director as soon as he gets his wind.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I apologize for my tardiness. Madam Chair, you'll note that this report was written by Madam CAO. Her accounting acumen and understanding of these past issues that have brought this consolidation together are in advance of mine. So credit to her work and her assistance in this complicated matter. I'll just synopsize from the report that the centralized schedule or the centralized scheduling office has been up and running. Our staff have been recruited. The department is at a point.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Just go into it.
Sorry, thank you. The department is at a point where we can establish the section as a division of the Department of Health Services, and this can be done by the transfer between divisions within the Department of Health Services of funding that has zero financial impact on the organization. There is a recommendation that we shift these budget dollars, which will not have any financial impact on the county taxpayer, despite an increasing employee base of 1. The table that has been prepared for you shows a number of positions from which we have, through either attrition or consolidation of positions, we have saved money which can now be transferred into the Department of Health Services centralized scheduling office to support its ongoing operations. This recommendation, ma'am, is brought to you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. First of all, does anybody have any questions on what the budget allocations and transfers and how it's happening, that we have the staff now without increased costs? Okay, so Mitch has moved the recommendation as a seconder. Mike, any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carried.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The next one is the medical assistance in dying.
That's correct, Madam Chair. On February 6, 2015, the Supreme Court of Canada struck down a ban on physician assistant dying on the grounds that it violated Canadians' Charter of Rights. Bill C-14 received final approval by the Senate on June 17th and is now law. With the recent passing of the bill, C-14, medical assistance in dying is now the option of individuals who choose this plan of care should they meet the criteria identified under the new legislation. We have reviewed this matter in an effort to understand the issue better, and we have developed a proposed policy to guide staff in dealing with these matters. This process has been consulted by medical directors, family councils, director of cares, and administrators of the homes. We've also sought legal counsel from Lonnie Rosen of Rosen and Sunshine, who is referred to us as a specialist in healthcare. Given the rights of long-term care residents to choose their own treatment and service levels, this policy is presented for your consideration. Given the low frequency and high risk associated with the application of this level of care, the recommendation of this policy that we're bringing forward in this policy, it would see that long-term care facilities under our management would allow MAID to be provided to residents as they wish. However, these services would not be provided by our staff. The service would only be provided by qualified staff as arranged by the resident in consultation with our administration and our medical directors. There would be no need for our staff in the homes to participate in the application of this end-of-life process. And as such, we allow the residents to participate in this if they wish, but we do not facilitate it. If they wish information, we can give them an effective offer so that they can look at these, how to facilitate this care to themselves, but we would not be involved in any way at this time. That is what this policy reflects, Madam Chair, and we are bringing it to you for consideration to see if it reflects your wishes.
All right, so if anybody has any questions for clarification or comments right now, Mike?
Thanks. Mike, I support the policy, but I just wonder, is there any legal, I mean, do we have any other legal obligations from that Supreme Court decision, or just to develop this policy and that's it? Or are we bound to provide any type of service as a result of that?
Sir, we're bound to provide, we're not bound to provide the services. If anyone asks, we're bound to provide an effective referral.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Janice?
Michael, it's kind of an odd question, but based on your experience, like how often in a year, in a one-year period, do you think we would be encountering something like this?
We've had one inquiry from both homes, early stages, and we've had, I believe, 6 in our geographical area of Bruce Grey.
In the last year, you mean?
I believe it was the last year to 18 months. So again, it's infrequent.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so we have the recommendation that, sorry. The recommendation is that the medical assistance in dying, short form MAID policy, be approved for the long-term care homes in Bruce County. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Robert, second by Janice. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And that carried.
And thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Willie Van Klooster was instrumental in shepherding this through an awful lot of work, so credit to him. And if I might, would you like the next item?
Yes. Well, the next item is the special care unit balcony separation at Bruce Lay Haven.
Yes, in my error, ma'am, it's not a hall, it should be a wall.
Okay.
The situation is that we have a balcony that's accessible to people in our special care unit. The problem is that if you go onto that balcony, you're able to walk around or down the balcony and into another unit. The purpose of the special care unit is to isolate our residents in that area so they can receive appropriate care and have no risk of wandering outside that area. If permitted, a plexiglass wall can be built on their portion of the balcony, allowing them to use the balcony and avoiding the worry of risk and wandering through the other door. We're asking that $1,039.37 from the general donations account be allowed to purchase and install this, ma'am.
All right. So I think it's fairly straightforward. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by David, second by Paul. Any further discussion or comments? All in favor? None opposed, that carried. And so the next is the information report on long-term care.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The information on the communication system we've already discussed this morning on the Q2 report. Would there be any questions on that? If not, I would move to or further inform you that the Ministry of Health Long-Term Care annual inspection is taking place at Gateway Haven. This is a one of two types of inspections. This is the deeper of the two. These, our colleagues are still at Gateway Haven doing the inspections now as they do a deep dive into our organization, which I have no doubt will benefit from. There was a violence in the workplace session last week. We had 13 attendees ranging from specialists in behavioral support Ontario. We had joint occupational health and safety representatives. We had Mr. John Van Delden present, member of the OPP present, to take a look at current levels of violence in the home and paramedic services to come out with recommendations that will allow us to avoid these situations and mitigate any patterning of them. There's 19 recommendations that came out of this that are being formulated, and the first one is going to be the development of a reporting process that not only examines what happens in each event, what triggered each event, and a process where we can pass that information on to people following in the other shifts. So if there was a trigger that caused this behavior, it won't be triggered again. So it's the first time we've had such a meeting with all of these participants. It's been very useful. And the next one we'll be having, further to the Madam CAO's comment about the upcoming business plan, we will be doing one of these on physicality of work for PSWs, looking at what we can do to reduce that that portion of their work. That'll be done in conjunction with a kinesiologist in the next month or so. And
Okay.
That's it, ma'am.
All right, the report for information. And the next one is the render drawing cladding design. If you want to.
There we are. Madam Chair, this has been put on as in the summer session, Council expressed an interest in seeing renderings of the EFIS options that are recommended for the two long-term care homes. These renderings have been prepared for your review. The cost of each option will be established by a request for tender, which has yet to be issued. The estimate replacement costs provided in the Edison 2017 cladding condition assessment and the following cladding review by Burnside estimates the pre-finished rain siding, metal siding. It's estimated that would be $996,000 for Bruce Lee Haven, and Gateway at $789,000. The clay brick masonry that you're looking at here, wood for Bruce Lee Haven is estimated at $1,971,000, and Burnside is estimating that $1,449,000 would be the cost of recladding Gateway in this same clay brick masonry. The EFIS replacement would be about $1.9 million for Bruce Lee Haven and $1.5 million for Gateway Haven. The funding requests at the summer session will help us develop the RFT for the replacement of these pieces, but we based it on the refinishing or the pre-finished metal siding screen siding. So what we did is when we asked for the support for the tender, we asked Burnside to speak to us about how much it would cost to put on the metal siding. I've been advised that if we choose to go with the clay brick masonry process, that it will cost another $8,500 to design specs so people can bid on that particular model, and it would cost an additional $143,900 for Burnside to oversee its application simply because it would take longer.
Sorry, which option are you talking about? The brick rate option 1?
Yeah, if we move to the brick option 1, if this is seen to be council's preference, there'll need to be an approach to council for additional funding for specs that speak to the weight of the brick masonry. They do not carry the same weight. The metal is lighter than the brick, and as a result, they would need to do an extra set of drawings to facilitate that. I bring this to you to give you a sense of what they would look like. The blue has been put in as it is seen to be close to our theme of trademark, and this is for your information. I'm sorry it wasn't written up. These became available 2 days ago, so we thought we'd just put it on the agenda.
That's fine. So just for clarification, the longevity doesn't matter. It's just the looks, like the actual quality and.
The brick is a little more robust
than
given
the
fact
other.
that you're dealing with 15 years or so left in the building. There was the brick or the masonry is of a longer longevity, but for the length of the buildings, the engineer is saying the metal cladding would meet our needs.
So that would be option 3 then, what's the difference between option 3 here and 4? Just the color?
2 and 4. 1 and 3 on brick and 2 and 4.
1 and 2 on mine are.
Sorry, the ones on the left is the difference. Is
Yeah.
if you look around the windows, you can see that the masonry's been added in on around the windows and left in the one on the bottom, and the other two speak to a color difference.
Okay. So.
Yes, sir. These are estimates from the people that did the assessments. The pre-finished metal siding for Burnside is estimated at $996,000, or sorry, by Burnside for Bruce Lee Haven, $996,000. For the same siding on Gateway Haven, $789,000. The brick for Bruce Lee Haven, $1,971,000. For Gateway, $1,549,000.
Okay, Janice?
So with the masonry, they want $150,000 to oversee the project? Do they want the same with the metal?
They would, no ma'am. What, sorry, no Madam Chair. The only additions of any cost at all would be if council wished to engage on the masonry side. That would require new plans, additional plans to be put in, and a longer time for the engineers to be on scene to watch the installation. So there would be those two costs due to the length of work.
Yes.
Metal and blue.
Yeah, me too.
It's making the decision much easier, unless you are coming back with more information, or did you?
I defer to
No,
CAO with regards to process.
Yeah, this was just for information for us to think about today, I understood. But
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, and I'm not sure about what Director McCaig's workload is, but ideally we can bring it back at the next committee meeting, which isn't a normally scheduled committee day for you, to approve the recommendation, because at
Very good.
the June session, you had concerns about it, so we don't have approval to take the next step,
Yes.
which would be next week, I believe.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, so, Paul?
I'm having some difficulty trying to weigh through that, because that EFS product on those buildings, that the problem with the EFS, it was simply installed very poorly and incorrectly. However, you were mentioning, so the aluminum, this preformed steel product, at about $1 million, and you're saying the EFS would be 1.9 million. Well, that makes no sense to me whatsoever, but I want you to double check that, because that EFS is used, and whether you call it EFS or you call it like stucco or exterior stucco walls, whatever you want to call it, it's used a lot, and it's used because it's more affordable than this preformed aluminum product. I don't get that at all. The other thing that still bothers me, and we can go, at the end of the day, we'll probably end up with blue aluminum, that's fine, but I need to ask the questions that, how much of that building has failed? Is like, I know it's really badly around the windows is where most of the leakage and maybe the mold, but is all the walls, like the south wall and the east wall, has it all failed? Like, if we went to EFS, are we doing it, you're pricing $2 million for a total restoration. I'm just wondering, have we ever talked about like a major repair? So get the EFS gone from the windows where it shouldn't have been in the first friggin' place, and that's where it's leaking because it's recessed, and you clad that with the new steel. I'm just having still a little bit, and you know, it takes me a while. I'm having trouble thinking this 15-year-old building needs stripped down to the bare bones and starting again.
Madam Chair, the councillor was correct. It's been stated that the application of this exterior, the analysis shows it was done inappropriately in a number of places, hence the problem. Madam Chair, the RFT that's being offered that will be sent out is to address not only the siding, but any issues that we have with the windows, to make sure that this is all wrapped up and dealt with so that we don't have anything plaguing us again. I can certainly reconfirm those numbers, Madam Chair.
So you've refreshed my memory just for information. So already it's been established that damage has been done to the actual structure. There's no doubt about that. Gone through that in other work, and you don't really have much choice, as I see it.
Madam Chair, if nothing's done, the leakage will continue. There's no way for the water to get out, and because it's not a drained system, and as a result, there will be more problems to be had. If I might, what we've discussed last time was the money for Burnside Construction to put together an RFP or an RFT to deal with all of these items, and then to be present at different intervals of the installation to make sure that things are done appropriately.
So just so I'm clear again, they're saying it costs more for the masonry option than the aluminum for supervision and the weight component that will add to the structural ability, or whatever, the structural standards that are there, and with the damage that has been done, that complicates it.
Madam Chair, the damage that's been done will be a factor in both. You're correct that part of the additional charge that would be incurred with this would be the on-site piece of the engineer, but to be clear, to hang that on the existing home needs a different set of plans to be given to the people bidding on the job than that which it takes to hang the metal. So we've priced out what it would do to do an RFP for the metal and to hang the metal and to supervise the metal being hung. There would be additional costs if it was the will and pleasure.
Substantial additional costs.
As stated, yeah.
Okay.
But I'll bring this back next week for a proper view.
All right. If, we'll look forward to next week. Okay, that was for information, and now number 4, act on recommendations. That in accordance with the procedure bylaw. Could I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Mitch, second by Milt. That in accordance with the procedure bylaw, staff be authorized and directed to give effect to the actions of the Homes Committee in respect of all resolutions passed during the August 2nd, 2018 meeting. All in favor? None opposed, that carried. Our next meeting is September 6th, 2018. I thought it was next week. It will be now. Okay. So our next meeting will be next week, which is the 9th. And I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Janice, second by Mike. All in favor? Okay, that carried. We're adjourned. Thank you.